Lavender blonde, down a dark alley, freaks that carry your luggage up to the room. It came from Hangar 18 with Scott Fultz, and the entire Vic Valentine Private Eye series are now available. Will.
Welcome to the Parkway. Oh no, Parkway's closed. Actually, some of you might know me from the old Parkway Theater. I was the white guy in the videos, the show before the movies. There's actually a new Parkway right around the corner from here, with which I'm a little associated. I did a cult movie cabaret called Thrillville for many years at the old Parkway, and also I franchised it at the new Parkway. I was Will the Thrill, and this is Monica the Tiki Goddess, my wife and lovely assistant. Our program hosted classic grindhouse B-movies and burlesque acts and stuff. So recently, Literary Orphans, which is an online literary journal, they're doing a special edition that has like a superhero theme. So Joe Clifford, who's the editor of the reissue of my novel, Love Stories That Do One For Me, told me about this. So I decided to come up with a story wherein Will the Thrill, my doppelganger, is actually a severely flawed, quote, superhero. Although flawed superheroes are kind of the trend these days, but this guy is particularly fucked up. So this piece is called Escape from Thrillville, which is appropriate because I'm moving to Seattle in a few weeks with Monica. And we've been in the Bay Area many years, and I appreciate all the support and all my friends I've met here. But Thrillville, I'm taking with me the brand name of Thrillville, but it was born here in the Bay Area, has the live cult movie cabaret. So it's kind of a sentimental story to me, although it's quite fanciful. Anyway, here we go. Can I put this up actually?
Wherever you want. You're in charge right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a dictatorship.
How's this? A little too intimate? Very beatnik. Okay.
It's good, yeah.
All right, there's no light here though. Okay. When booze becomes the only thing that floats your boat, it's time to drain the lake. This is why I was seriously considering hanging up the fez hat, shades, and smoking jacket after 17 years in this thankless racket. Defending Thrillville from a motley assortment of mad scientists, monsters, gangsters, rapists, killers, kidnappers, and jaywalkers had definitely taken its toll on my sanity, which eventually meant sacrificing my sobriety. My giant martini glass had once been a main source of my power. Now it had become my, I had a few martinis before this. Not a giant martini, just a bunch of little ones, which would have fit into a giant martini glass. Where was I? My giant martini glass had once been a main source of my power. You getting this?
Yeah.
Now it had become my worst enemy, even more than lousy fashion and crappy music. I'm Will the Thrill, by the way. Lounge lizard for hire. I fight crime for a living. Except it doesn't actually pay anything, so I'm always broke. Cheap thrills do not pay the bills. To be honest, I steal what little money I have, typically from crime scenes. Sometimes I sell the dope I've recovered. I'm not a good guy. I just act like one. I guess I'm what's known as an anti-hero. I'm also antisocial. I hate people, except for the ones with nice tits. And even then, only if they're nice to me. Superficial appearances count. I only dress like I'm a swinging hipster. It's all part of my fabricated public image. People don't believe what you tell them, they believe what you show them. Before I can't read here in this light. Before I donned the snazzy outfit, the snazzy duds, I was just another poor, in all senses, chronically lonesome schnook, wasting his nights home alone with a good book or bad movie. Once I found the magical fez in a thrift shop one crazy day, my entire life changed. I soon discovered that with great power comes, well, you know, all that jazz. I hated the actual responsibilities of being a superhero. I'm a lazy bastard. I don't even work out. I'm totally out of shape. I don't even fit the popular profile. Plus, my motivations were hardly altruistic. I was only in it for the pussy, and boy, did I score on that front. Chicks dig a cool uniform, even if there aren't any muscles underneath. The only thing that turns them on more is money. That's one superpower I did not have, but I managed to get by without it. As long as I wore the fez, which I should have worn tonight,
which protected my true identity as a total loser. It was like a condom for my ego. I also found out it paid to wear pinky rings on each fist when punching people in the face. My customized unbreakable martini glass, the size and density of a sledgehammer, made an effective weapon as well. For wheels, I had the Thrillmobile, a tricked-out 1957 powder blue Thunderbird with leopard skin upholstery and a portable cocktail bar in the trunk for on-the-fly crime-fighting fuel. Rescuing damsels in distress kept me knee-deep in nookie on a regular basis, all right. If you can't get paid, you might as well get laid. But now even my penis was pooped. The pilot light inside my heart had blown out, too. Inside, I already felt dead. I was just waiting for that other cufflink to drop. Anyway, one recent night, I was slamming back several bourbon shots while moping around in the thrill pad. A single room, pastel-painted, plushly appointed, mid-century modernist studio apartment equipped with an LP stereo system stocked with classic lounge exotica albums, a big-screen TV with a DVD player and a few dozen carefully selected old movies, a dime store rack full of pulp novels, a closet full of backup fezzes and alternate silk smoking jackets in varying colors, a bureau with a mirror and a drawer full of black shades and a pinky rings, a hat rack where I hung my various luchador masks for my undercover international alias Guillermo El Perelmo, and of course a round, rotating waterbed. Behind the martini bar was a portrait of the Holy Trinity, Frank, Dean, and Sammy. It was my shrine where I went to worship when I needed sustenance from a higher power, and nobody got higher than those guys. The thrill pad was my fortress of solitude and my bat cave combined, except much smaller, with a lot more kinky sex toys scattered around, like tiki-shaped vibrators, edible hallucinogenic dice, and pornographic strip poker card decks. It had been one long, wild thrill ride, all right. But now it seemed the party was over. I was a middle-aged wolf, after all. Even my sidekick, the tiki goddess, the most beautiful and exotic woman I'd ever met, whose superpower was seduction, didn't answer the thrill phone or respond to the thrill signal anymore. I think she was tired of waiting around for me to marry her or something. I'd blown it. I was retiring from this racket exactly the way I'd started alone. I started it alone. This is fiction, by the way. That's when a beautiful brunette with familiar bangs, whom I wanted to bang on the spot, knocked on the door, walked in, and when I opened it, I cannot read this light. Does this make any sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Okay. That's when a beautiful brunette with familiar bangs, whom I wanted to bang on the spot, knocked on the door, then walked in when I opened it. She was a dead ringer for Betty Page. I want you to find someone for me, she said. Who? Me. No, I mean, who do you want me to find? Me. I want you to find me. Well, who are you? You look just like Betty Page. Betty Page. Yeah, that's who you look like. Well, that's also who I am. I thought you were dead. So did I. Don't take this wrong, but didn't you die in your prime? You were, old. Exactly. Weird, huh? After nearly 2 decades of facing off with everything from nympho vampires to alien hitmen to rampaging robots to lycanthropic mobsters, I was accustomed to weirdness. Overly familiar with it, in fact. This was exactly the kind of thing I was trying to get away from. Then she suddenly let out a long, evil laugh. I'm just fucking with you, she said. I'm not actually Betty Page. I'm just messing with you. What? Why? Because that's what I do. I'm the mind fucker. Pleased to meet you. Oh, well, pleased to meet you too, doll. I extended my right hand for a shake. I'm sorry, I can't shake your hand because that would require a corporeal presence. Huh? I'm not actually here. You're imagining all this. How? Because I made you imagine it. In fact, I made you. Huh? But why? Because I'm the mindfucker. It's what I do. Well, see ya. Then poof, she was gone. I didn't know what to make of this mysterious encounter. Did she present any actual danger? A pain in the ass? Sure. But an actual public enemy that needed to be stopped? Hard to say. But given her unique powers of mind control, the potential certainly existed. I was reminded of my old nemesis, the head shrinker. She was an impossibly sexy voodoo priestess who made one head swell while shrinking the other one, basically sucking both till they were left limp, empty, and useless. The last I heard, she was locked up in the Thrillville asylum, and projecting mental illusions wasn't really in her trick-and-treat bag. I also flashed back to the notorious bitch known as the Ball Buster, but as far as I knew, she was dead. This was most likely an entirely new player, just when I thought I was out. At the time, I was wearing only my wife beater, silk boxers, and argyle socks. I put on a white shirt, black slacks, skinny pink tie, aqua green smoking jacket, striped white tiger fur fez, and shades, and went downstairs to the garage where I climbed into the Thrillmobile and drove around town, lost in thought, my perpetual jazz soundtrack on the radio. There was a full moon over Thrillville, which was a shadowy town even by daylight, though the sun hardly even shone then. It was perpetually cloudy, which meant the neon signs on all the nightclubs were never turned off. And Thrillville was almost nothing but nightclubs, cheap residential hotels, diners and dive bars, all Googie style. The city council's architectural mandate. The denizens were of both supernatural and human origins, mixing and mingling and mating in general harmony until a crime of passion or opportunity was committed and I was called into action. But things had been quiet for a while and I figured they could live without me. The question was, could I live without them? After driving around aimlessly for a while, I finally stopped at the urban tropical oasis known as Forbidden Island, the Tiki Lounge, where the Tiki Goddess performed her nightly torch singing gig. Entertainment was her real career. She only became my crime-fighting sidekick after we were accidentally thrown together onto a case when Thrillville was being attacked by the Grunge Gang, a bunch of ugly thugs whose superpowers were bad hair, bad clothes, and bad attitudes. And they were contagious. They really rubbed her sense of style the wrong way, and she took on the task of sticking her sweet, high-heeled feet right up their torn blue jean asses before I jumped in and helped her. So I guess in effect I was her sidekick. In any case, we've been close allies ever since. We slept together a few times, but I could tell she was getting serious, so I told her I couldn't see her as often, and she cooled off from the crime-fighting bit. Truth was, she was getting to me, and the only vulnerability a crime fighter can't have is a loved one. I worried too much she'd become a target of my own enemies. Also, I was afraid of commitment. The reality was, she was the one and only person who knew my true identity as a complete schmuck, but still accepted me. For some reason, I couldn't handle that. The Tiki Goddess was on stage performing a moody medley in her smoky Julie London, June Christie style, backed up by the house band, a bunch of beret-wearing, bongo-beating beatniks called the Moonrays. I took a seat at the Bamboo Bar, ordered a classic Mai Tai, and waited for her set to end. When she was finished, she joined me, but with a cool demeanor that clinked around in the air between us like ice in my glass. "Welcome to Chillville," I said. "What do you want?" she asked, cutting the chit-chat while nodding at the bartender, who responded immediately with a ready-made French 75. "Besides you? You had your chance." "True, and I regret that choice daily. But I'm only here with one question. Have you ever heard of a supervillain called the Mindfucker?" "Sure." "What do you mean, sure?" "I mean, yes, I've heard of the Mindfucker. It's been around forever. Why?" "It? He, she, it, whatever. It assumes whatever form suits its particular agenda." "Which is what?" "That constantly changes as well. So how do I find it?" "You can't." "Why not?" "That's the secret power of the Mindfucker. There is no Mindfucker. Not in singular, tangible form, anyway. That's how the Mindfucker can operate without ever being captured. He, she, it remains at large, a perpetual perpetrator, precisely because he, she, it is constantly being regenerated by he, her, its own victims, even though the victims are in fact the purse. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So the Mindfucker is an internal entity?" "Yes, it's common knowledge, really. Surprised you're just hearing about it. But then you've always been trapped inside your own head, haven't you? That fez is more like a locked lid." "That's crazy. So how do we know the Mindfucker isn't controlling our senses right now?" "We don't." "So my entire life, all my memories, this very moment could be an illusion, like a dream?" "Yes." "Even you?" "Yes." She leaned closer to me. The mutual attraction was too strong for either of us to resist. "Even this?" I said. "Yes." She closed her eyes, bracing for passionate impact. But before our lips met, there erupted an abruptly disrupted chorus of screaming from the surrounding patrons as a swarm of moaning undead monster men and women with glazed eyes and drooling mouths suddenly invaded the place. I recognized them right away, especially since they all dressed alike in gray sweatpants and t-shirts with matching corporate logos. But their physical appearances had deteriorated a great deal since I last noticed them. A steady diet of cloned pop culture will do that to a person. The corporate corpses, as they were dubbed by the local media, were a ragtag band of normally peaceful, zombified consumers controlled by an unseen but all-powerful billionaire industrialist known as the conformist. The corpses were dismissed by society as sad annoyances, stumbling around the local mall, bumping into each other while shopping for stuff they never need, or for some reason they suddenly developed a taste for other human brains, perhaps because of their own cerebral deficits. That may have been the conformist master plan all along, but was the conformist really in cahoots with the mindfucker, or were they in fact the same being? A particularly aggressive zombie tore off the tiki goddess's shiny satin dress, so she was wearing nothing but her leopard skin underwear and snakeskin pumps. I found this very distracting, but didn't detract from the tiki goddess's axe-kicking abilities, as she swung her magnificent gams around with lethal athleticism, kickboxing her way through the horrible hordes, smashing the skulls of her avaricious attackers, her putrid brains spilling all over the bamboo floor. So why would the conformist, mindless minions, normally as harmless as mannequins, suddenly morph into cannibalistic predators, feasting on human flesh? Was the mindfucker behind this sudden radical change of behavior, or was this even really happening? No time to debate myself. The screams of the patrons attempting to flee the zombies surrounding us were all too real. I ran outside to the Thrillmobile to retrieve my own trademark weapon, the giant martini glass, then returned to join the defense against the violent assault. But something unprecedented happened. My unbreakable martini glass broke. I just dropped it on the floor by accident, and it shattered. Defenseless, I was overwhelmed by the zombies. I felt them tearing into my body and my soul. I couldn't see the tiki goddess anymore. One of them stabbed a metal straw right through my fez, penetrating my skull, and my brains were being sucked out right through the top of my torn scalp. I was saved by the shrill ringing of the alarm clock. I looked at the time and groggily realized I was almost late for work. Again. I couldn't afford to get fired from another job. I hopped out of my Murphy bed and into the shower after putting on an Esquivel album to set the mood of the day, which I was determined would be special. Then I neatly combed my hair, put on cologne, and wore my best tie, even though I was only a clerk in a chain store. Maybe today was the day I'd finally summon up the courage to ask my dream girl and favorite customer out on a date. First summoning up the courage to actually talk to her outside of her heartless transactions. Then I quit my job. It was time for me to outgrow reality in favor of my fantasies. I was going to spike my coffee with whiskey as usual, but instead settled for cream and ran down to meet my bus. By the way, I thought I should tell you none of this actually happened, except in my own mind.
And now yours. Cheers.